there is a music. Yeah, the song's called As Long As It Feels Right.
All right.
I broke down in Minnesota, both by temperament and car. And I got baptized with the hood up while the summer monsoon roared. See, I am good at my own buttons. I will push them till I break. And when I finally fall apart, I punch a fist into the ache. Gotta keep my eyes bright. I will see the sun. I'm walking with a flashlight, one foot in front of the other one, as long as it feels right. So I wake the day up fighting, burn horizons from both ends. I fight the fire, monopolizing all my thoughts when I'm in bed. And I'm fighting for the kindness in its incremental sparks, for all the souls that are the lions who let their love roar in the dark. Gotta keep my eyes bright. I will see the sun. I'm walking with a flashlight, one foot in front of the other one, as long as it feels right. As long as it feels right. And it's the storm in Minnesota, it's the road that takes me home. And it's the fight I pick out every time. I can't stand to be alone. And it's the clouds that pull the storm up. It's the company I keep. And it's the things my mother said out loud when she thought I'd gone to sleep. And it's the sun that breaks the clouds up, the first deep breath after the flood. It's the magnetic force that binds us, all the iron in our blood. We gotta keep our eyes bright. We will see the sun. We're walking with a flashlight, one foot in front of the other one, as long as it feels right. As long as it feels right.
That song has so much depth to your story in it, and my story.
Yeah.
So I was playing both. As I was sitting there listening to you, I was hearing your story and really seeing what you put in.
Yeah, I feel like that's, I don't, what's the right term? That's like my mantra song.
Yeah.
When I wrote it, I was like, oh, this is my, this is a thing that I'm going to keep.
Yeah, and that's what and that's what I felt in it, and it was so much. And I love the idea that our light cannot be outside of us. We have to bring the light. Bring the light. It doesn't do that, and that's
it's a hard lesson to learn, and I have to remind myself all the time.
Over and over and over. And that's the re-lesson. That's the reminding. That we have.
It's not a bright light, but it's there.
Never. Exactly. Precisely. We don't know whether it is, but we just got to keep following that. Now, is that a pop song, a folk pop? And because I want to ask you, because one of the things that I love about being my age and having grown up in the 60s and 70s, and then be in this time in 2019, September, when we're starting this, doing the show, is that I really have been able to expand of what I know I'm ignorant about. because there is so much more to know about than I ever would have known about.
Yeah.
And now,
That makes
because I
sense.
now understand that they're vast, so I can ask questions like, please help me understand this word pop, this word folk, what these things mean, and how they work in it, and how they work in you as an artist.
Sure. That is a great question. That song's going on the folk album I'm making, but I think I've come to accept about myself that I've ingested so much pop music that it comes out, whether it's melodic wise or
Right.
phrasing wise.
So what does
anyway.
that mean, though? What does the word pop music mean? So I'm trying to understand that as a non-musician. What do we say? How do you explain it to us?
I think in the most generic term, it's popular music. So, which means nothing really other than it's in what we in songwriter land. And I grew up a folk. I grew up a folky. I was very snobbish personally about what I listened to. I grew up on Lilith Fair happened when I was in high school, which was amazing. So there are all these women songwriters floating about, and I gravitated toward the Sean Colvin and the Mary Chapin Carpenters, and because they're known for their craft and their lyrics and their words. And so I shunned anything on the radio at the time, which was probably NSYNC and Britney Spears.
Yeah.
But not realizing that Sean and Mary Chapin and Ani DeFranco are also instilled with this. It's a melody line, I think, that will not let you go. It's as much craft, paid attention to the arrangement and the structure of the song and the melody line as it is to the lyrics. And once I started clicking those things together, like songwriting gets so much richer. And not to say Americana and folk artists don't focus on melody and stuff, but if you go write a song in LA with people, you're in a room with at least 3 people usually, where you have someone doing tracks, someone writing words, and then someone's just there to sing a top line, which is just making up a melody. But they're getting paid the same amount if a song gets cut because they came up with that melody that everyone is singing in their car and can't get out of their head at night,
Right.
which is such an insane impact to have on somebody. If even if they don't remember your words the first time, if the melody is in there, that's kind of impressive, you know. And I'm not saying I hit that mark on it in my stuff all the time, but once I started looking to that and appreciating that's why it's popular music. It will not get out of your mind.
Exactly.
Which is what's what we all want as artists, you know.
And all right. Well, thank you. That's what I wanted to understand.
For me only. That's what I want as an artist. I want to be stuck in your brain. Other artists.
So you're right now in the middle of working on at least 2 EPs plus other projects, starting a podcast, doing that. So tell me a little bit about the process right now and the creative process in one of these albums.
It's great. Okay, so my folk pop project it's called 1, 2, 3 Scream, which is me and Mark Addison, who's a great producer here in Austin. And he found me because I played he has a concert series at his studio called Tips Concerts, and I played it, and I played a song that I call my folk rap, and he's like, "Have you recorded that?" And I said, "No, I just feel like it's too weird to, how am I going to do this?"
Yeah.
And Mark comes from he had a few bands in the 80s and 90s and spent some time in LA, and he was a staff, he had a publishing deal where he wrote songs for like everyone from Cher to Joan Baez, which I think is hilarious. Mark's had songs cut by those 2 artists specifically, which just blows my mind. And he loves experimenting in the studio. So I was like, all right, well, here's this folk rap. And we had such a blast recording that. He said, what else do you have? And I was like, well, I have, I took him a batch of stuff I had just written that was right at the time. It was fortuitous that I had embraced that I love Taylor Swift and Rihanna and all that kind of stuff. And so I was trying to write more in that vein. And so we made an EP last year called Lit. And it was such an equal partnership in that I brought Mark the songs, but he spent so much care. There's layers of synthesizers, and he tells a story through his production, which I appreciate so much. There's if you listen through a 1, 2, 3 Scream song, something changes at every verse or chord. Like, it's not like he's just like, and now we put the chorus instrumentation in for the 3rd time. It's like there's a story being told there too. And so when you put that together, so we call it smart words with good beats. You know, that's what we wanted to bring forth with that. So it's an equal partnership there. And
God,
it's
how
been
much
fun.
fun.
Yeah, and so I'm so fortunate that when I have a song that I'm like, this would be cool for Mark, I just take it in, I do my strummy strum, and he goes into his mad laboratory and sends something back later that usually hits a mark that I had never thought of, which is really cool. And I knew we would get along because when we were in the middle of that first process, he's like, so I was listening to the new Taylor Swift record, and I was like, oh, good, okay, you're fine. Yeah. We're going to get along great. Thank you for even respecting that, you know? Because that's an interesting part of being a songwriter, and in a city that Austin is so magical and unique, and then not attached in a lot of ways to the super factory song cities like LA and Nashville, to where we shun that a little bit. So it becomes a little bit of a weird thing to say, I really love these pop songs. In some circles, a lot of people I know love it too, but sometimes I've had to come to fisticuffs over Taylor Swift. But
have you noticed the circles getting larger? Are you finding that that people's levels of acceptance? I'll give you an example. I watch a lot of television. I come from the television, and I feel that the fact that people are just exposed to every 30-second commercial has taken such art, and there's an art director, and there's work in this, that we're exposed to a degree of art that is having an impact, and music, and that's having an impact in growing the consciousness of the human being at this time.
And I do think the circle is getting bigger, just in that we have so much more input and access to anything we want. I pay for, musicians talk about the merits and bad sides of streaming, but I pay money to a streaming service, and I can listen to most anything recorded at any time. So when I'm reading the New Yorker article about Linda Ronstadt, I can pull it up, and I don't have to drive to the record store, which in itself there's a sad note there, but it's also kind of amazing.
Exactly.
And to dig into that catalog, or to get the new whoever put out a record yesterday at midnight when it comes out is incredible.
I know.
We are never at a loss for that. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but
it is. And so how do you filter out, or do you use a process to, spin a slot machine and say, see what comes out? Or how do you make sure you're expanding and growing in your appreciation?
Yeah, great question. Because sometimes I feel like I listen to what I really want to listen to, and I have, a top 5 that at the end of the year, Spotify will give you your most listened to art, and it's like, yep, same thing as last year. Which is, it goes back to that, what core pieces of art fuel you, and so I find myself listening to that over and over again. But discovery is a very key thing too, and honestly, sometimes the algorithm, which whatever that is, spits things at me based on what I listen to, and I skip a lot, and then something will, and I don't know if it's the day, my mood, my hormone balance, or whatever, a song will hit me, and I find my new favorite band. It's kind of insane. So to think that we're spinning on that random wheel of chance, and someone might hear a 1, 2, 3 Scream song and think that one day in 3 years, I don't know, that would be wonderful if that happens. But to pin hopes on that is also self-defeating. So it's like, go away, make your art, put it out how you have to, and then go away again and make some more art.
And then to see, because we can't know when the pin is going to drop.
Right. No, I've seen it happen to friends where all of a sudden something crazy happens and a song gets picked up for a thing, or they get an opening spot on a tour. Yeah. And then I have friends that make beautiful records that 25 people listen to.
Exactly.
That's fine too.
and that has to be that way, though. I think in my sense is because the minute I am attempting to reverse engineer to something popular and to come backward,
attempting to reverse engineer something popular, you're already about a month or a month to 2 years behind. You know, like by the time it gets to fruition, the thing has already. That's where I get in the world of pop. There's the new stuff, and you can go down the list of new releases this week, and you can hear stuff that they have just tried to make what sounds like was a hit a month ago. And I'm like, you're using the exact same sound. Stop it. Can't you? There's lots of sounds in the world. Try them.
That's where you're getting a chance to do. So do you write in the morning? Do you get up in the morning and pull out something? Are you an evening person, or where are your areas that you like to?
Oh man, lately it's night, more toward evening. I think the whatever gets stirred more. I have my first EP that I made when I moved to Austin with Daniel Barrett, one of my best friends and a producer of many things I've done. We called it The Early Year because he was working a job and I was working at the county government. And so I had to be at work at 7:30 in the morning.
And I would come up to you in the county government. Where were you working?
At the, I worked in the 4-H department with the extension office for Travis County. It's an insane job. When you look at anything I've done in my life, and you would not pick that job for me to be qualified for, but they hired me because I could blog. So it was good for a year and a half, and then I quit. But I had to be at work at 7:30, so I would get up. Dan and I made a pact to get up at like 5:30 and write separately. But we were in it together, and that's how I wrote the songs for that first record. So there's a magic to the morning, and I know it. And I go in cycles where I will get up really early and respect it. And currently I'm not in that cycle.
Speaking of cycles, one of the things that I'm learning about is what is happening right now with women coming into the power structure, coming into at every level. We're watching, as a communication coach, I get a chance to work with people all around the world. And I'm seeing, because I'm alone with men, and I know that men are talking about women differently than only a few years ago. They're actually talking to them as leaders or what they're doing. I mean, there is a shift. It's subtle. We're not all the way there.
Yeah.
Please don't. Don't. I know. I'm very. Oh, everything's fine and wonderful, and I know. Yeah, that's fine. You're a white male pro. It's fine. Yeah. But the point being is that something shifted.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that both in your life, both as a business person and as a musician, and as a political animal too, because we're both involved in politics?
Yeah. Great question. I will simultaneously say I've been fortunate to be around people that I don't feel like have marginalized me, or I haven't been in those higher up musical things yet, where maybe it becomes more of an issue. I have a good group around me, and Austin is so personable, and we're a tight group. So I can't say knowingly that I've been part of an overt misogynistic take on something I've done, but I also know I notice that all the time, the washing over of how people review women's records versus men, or there's always a token female spot on a festival bill in this state still, and you can usually pick out which one's gonna get the gig versus all the dudes.
Sure.
And it just is what it is, and certain people argue that it's financially driven and nothing more. And but the larger conversation has to be, how do we shift it so that women artists are seen as just as financially viable because their art is just as good, because that's true.
Yeah.
There's this new band called the High Women that is a collaboration. It's Brandi Carlile and Amanda Shires and Maren Morris, who's like a pop country hit maker, and Brandy's been in the folk world for a long time, and they're all together, and I was curious to see what would happen, and all that is happening is you can see how happy they are to be working together and writing some really great songs, and people are clamoring to go to those shows for good reason. And I don't like to cite one thing as a token. Look, it's working now. Same thing.
Sure.
But, and I don't think
But these are the harbingers. I mean, they are actually,
exactly.
they're actually calling to us and letting us know something has shifted. You can't go backward.
Exactly.
We can't let that, once that genie's out of the box and people know how empowered they are and they're excited and there's a little girl sitting there and listening to it and going, oh.
Oh, totally.
You can't go back from that.
No, that's why, you know, I latched on to Mary Chapin Carpenter at such a young age. At 11, when I was thinking I wanted to play guitar, is she was the only one on country music television back when they showed videos. She was the only one in her videos playing guitar. And then the thing would pop up at the bottom and it would say writers and it would just say Carpenter. And I was like, what? Because everyone else has, you know, and not to diss the writer's room,
right.
but 3 or 4 co-writers, and usually there's a band behind them and they're standing there singing. And she really showed me that there's another way to do this really successfully, or at least aim for it. And that was cool. So she was a really early on kind of punch through the ceiling one for me.
How cool. Are you going to, when all this continues to happen, are you going to take your turtle with you?
The turtle lives with my mom.
What?
And yeah.
Does the turtle have consciousness? Does it remember you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I enjoy visiting the turtle. We got the turtle when I was 11 too. A lot of stuff happened when I was 11. I got a guitar and a turtle. And then the turtle, I went to college in Albuquerque and then moved to Austin out of college, and the turtle, my mom has such a bond with the turtle that I had to leave the turtle there. We named the turtle Leo because the Ninja Turtles were popular at the time, and then later on we discovered she is a girl, but I think Leo works still.
Oh yeah,
so.
got to be able to.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have that. So.
And she's such a talking point because no one knows how old she is, because she was at least 25, but she was fully grown when we got her. So she could be 60 for all I know. It's incredible.
Isn't it wonderful? I mean,
Yeah.
to be able to see. I mean, when I think of this bag of stardust that's animated, what? How did that work?
Yeah.
How did we,
too hard
against the
about
second law of thermodynamics, actually organize?
It's insane.
Yeah.
So there's science and there's a lot of
Play
faith.
us out of here.
and I don't
Will
know.
you just play us something
I had a song
along
for
the
that, I
way
think.
out? Just something that would be fun.
Here's a folk song about kind of an ongoing, why are we here?
Yeah, yeah,
Crisis.
perfect. Oh, yes.
Crisis, but good, because you
Yeah.
know you can write a song about it. So it's called Maps.
Okay.
When we land on this earth, we begin by counting upwards till we're grown and learn the curse that the clock is counting backwards and the fear spins wheels around. We measure miles and stops between. We measure 6 feet in the ground for our last ride in a black machine, and time spent in cars. The middle lines are just stitches that we sew through the dark, tiny marks, asphalt and Morse code, maps that get us home. And we're born in a chase, takes us time to turn the key and start. When we get brave, when we recognize our heart, how it beats, how it hums, how sometimes it gets violent, hell on wheels, it just runs on sorcery and science, and our time spent in hearts, the jagged lines are just stitches that we sew through the dark, tiny marks. Arteries get us home. We look for meaning in celestial friction, the heavens speaking or our intuition. Is it God in our head? Is it dust from our time spent in stars, the grand design? They're just stitches that we sew through the dark, tiny marks, moonlight and north poles, arteries and bones, asphalt and Morse code, maps that get us home. So we land on Earth alone, and we land on Earth alone.
We did it.